surgeon. And a lot of the ways that people get on this list is their billing person just says, okay, I'm just going to credential them. They get credentialed and they don't have a clue that they're on this list. And so we've told patients in the past, call the doctor's office or call the specialist, ask to speak to the billing manager, because even the office manager won't really know who's taking what or what they're taking. So we used to say, call the specialist office, talk to the biller and say, do you take federal work comp? Not workers' comp, federal work comp. And 90% of the time they said no.
Welcome to the Back to Work Melbourne podcast, where Dr. Dorfman is your federal workers' comp OWCP expert in Brevard County, Florida. In this podcast, you'll hear tips and tricks about the OWCP process, along with heartfelt patient testimonials from those we've helped get their claims approved. Tune in each week for insightful advice and inspiring stories that will guide you through your journey.
All right, so Dr. Dorfman, my first podcast with you.
This is your first podcast with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's talk about all the ways people can find you nowadays. What's so special about social media and why is it working for you?
Social media. I've never been a social media kind of person, and I probably still am not a social media kind of person. But I have learned that when people injure themselves in federal workers' comp, they have to go find someone because they're not told by their supervisor where to go. So they have to go online. So it's forced people like myself who want to be seeing these patients to go onto social media. So that's why we began this podcast months ago, having a great time with it. But really, it's a question for you because you know much more about social media than I ever will on all the different forms of social media as far as, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all the things that people do. I'm doing this because you do this. I'm doing this because your Wednesday night chats has been on ever since I started doing federal workers' comp, and certainly it's been on for a lot longer than that. But I saw the success that you and Chris have in your podcasts and the thousands and thousands of people that reach out to you. I know that when I watch your Wednesday night chats almost every Wednesday, there are people from all over the country who are chiming in, right, asking questions, looking for doctors, and more so looking for doctors how to fill out their paperwork.
Yeah.
What do I do about the CA this and the CA that, and what about this? And my supervisor tells me I need to do this, which is completely wrong. And then you point them in the right directions. So I'm doing these podcasts because of the success that you have in reaching the thousands and thousands of people that you reach, all over the country.
Good.
So I should be asking you, how do you do it?
I just turn the camera on, start talking.
It's difficult. That's
is.
why I'm always looking at you, or I'm looking at the microphone. When I look at the camera, it's just a camera.
Right.
You're not. You don't have 1,000 people behind that.
Right.
It's just a camera, and you just focus in on the camera. So I don't even look at the camera.
Well, I remember this podcast dude guy that I know. He just says, "Just turn your camera on and just talk." That's what
he's told me.
I don't know if you saw his one post where he's shoveling, doing some hay baling.
I saw that in a cold climate.
Yes, in a cold climate.
Yes, he's invited me to this cold climate before. But no, we're here in Florida, and we're treating patients here in Florida. We don't go to the cold climates.
No.
So we make him come here,
right?
And he not helps, but he does these podcasts with us. He does funny ones, he does informative ones, and I think he picked me to do these podcasts because it's Florida,
right?
And every few months he needs to thaw out from the cold climate where he's from, and he enjoys coming to Florida. We're still waiting for him. It's 10:30 in the morning. Right. He's not even here yet.
Yeah,
we've started these podcasts all by ourselves, and I think he's just stuck at a pool somewhere applying
it up,
some Hawaiian tropic.
So which platforms are you currently on right now? So if anybody's listening, they can just say, let me turn on my phone and find this Dr. David Dorfman.
I think we are on, I know we have our Facebook, we have this podcast, but I think also Instagram,
okay,
and TikTok, which I don't even have on my telephone, and all those other forms of social media that people can find us, because people injure themselves, they don't know where to go.
Right.
They ask a supervisor can't tell them about me. I'm right here. I'm here all day long here in Melbourne, Florida, as well as Orlando, and supervisors either just know that we're around but don't tell them, or maybe they just really don't know that we're around because they don't know what to do. Our supervisor, my patients who are supervisors, they tell their coworkers where to go. They say, here's his number, give him a call. But other than that, it's been so difficult for people to find me. There's a website, OWCP, I think .gov or something, but that's made of a whole lot of doctors who don't even do federal workers' comp.
Right.
And those names should be taken off, but they're still on there. So now patients, unfortunately, they go to this website because they're told this is the website that you should go to. And then they start calling doctors in their area, because you go on that first page and you could put your zip code in and whatever you're looking for. But then you start calling and the doctors are telling you, no, we don't do federal workers' comp. And I've spoke to them, I think they're in Washington, D.C., about this website. How are these doctors' names populated?
Right.
Because I know these doctors here, at least the ones here in Brevard County, and I know they don't do federal workers' comp, yet their name is on that list. How can that be? And they say to me that the way this list is populated is by doctors who have, within the last year, submitted claims.
Right.
So they saw a patient maybe said, hey, I was involved in a work injury, can I come in? And they see them, not knowing the problem that they're going to have in getting paid and filling out the paperwork. So they've attempted to submit a claim. And I guess the way that their computers work is a doctor submits a claim or attempts to submit a claim, and now they take that information and they populate it on their website.
Right.
So really, these are not doctors who do federal workers' comp. These are doctors that have attempted to submit a claim for federal workers' comp. So to find me, oftentimes they have to go through dozens of other people who don't do it, and then before they even get to me, they probably just stop.
Right.
And they say, you know what? Because the rest of the people on that list must be like the people that I just called who don't do federal workers' comp. So that is the reason why I wanted to start this, so people can find me before they even injure themselves.
Right. And another thing too, I remember when Chris and I, one of our first doctors out in Alabama, we tried to help a patient, and Chris went through a list of 11 pages and then found one orthopedic surgeon. And a lot of the ways that people get on this list is their billing person just says, okay, I'm just going to credential them. They get credentialed and they don't have a clue that they're on this list. And so we've told patients in the past, call the doctor's office or call the specialist, ask to speak to the billing manager, because even the office manager won't really know who's taking what or what they're taking. So we used to say, call the specialist office, talk to the biller and say, do you take federal work comp? Not workers' comp, federal work comp. And 90% of the time they said no, but they're on this list because the office manager, or like what you said, they just get put on this list.
Correct. And when I'll always know, because I'll ask patients, because they'll say, oh, I went to Dr. So-and-so, and when I call them up, they said that I needed to have my case manager at where they work at the post office, for example, I need to have my case manager call them. And that's when a person does that office does not do federal workers' comp, because there is no case manager to call you.
Right.
You as a patient go there, you make an appointment yourself, you go there and you're treated just like any other patient. They should know the forms that they need to fill out, because there's no, it's not like regular workers' comp where you do have a case manager and it's that case manager that does make your appointment.
Right.
This is very different. They don't have case managers. So whenever I hear of a doctor's office that say to a patient, "Oh, I can't make your appointment. You need to have your case manager or a worker call me, and then we can make that appointment," then they don't do federal workers' comp, because there's no such thing.
Right.
And I see that all the time. I see it all the time of patients whom they're confused because the office says, "Yes, we do take we take federal workers' comp, but I can't make you the appointment. You need to have your case manager call," and there isn't one. So the moment, I always say to people, the moment you find, and even when they go to the urgent care center, they go to the urgent, and that's where these supervisors send their patients. They send them to the urgent care center, and the urgent care, and when they go to make an appointment, the urgent care center says, "You need to have someone call us." There is no one to call you. Right. So the moment you speak to a person at the front desk and they say, "Have them call us," they don't do federal workers' comp.
Right. So what are the names of your social media pages where we can have these people follow you? I know your Facebook one is Federal Injury Centers of Melbourne, so they can find you there.
Correct. Also, Federal Injury Centers of Orlando.
Okay.
Because we do have an office in Orlando. Because when I opened up Melbourne, so many people were traveling to see us from Orlando, which is about, depending upon where in Orlando you live, at least an hour, so an hour minimum, and patients were coming. And even though as a federal employee you get reimbursed for your transportation expenses, still, it's a lot of time out of their day. And whether they're working or not, it's a lot of time out of their day to travel here, get the amount of treatment that you get here, and then travel home. So I opened up an office in Orlando. So we do have an office in Orlando. It's located about 5 to 8 minutes north of the airport, and we're able to see everyone in North and West and East and South Orlando, so they don't have to come here to the Melbourne office. I'd love to see them here in the Melbourne office, but whatever is closest to you. Address I can give you right now is 5555 East Michigan Street. So, Ginny, tell me about Wednesday Night Chats. I know that I've only been listening to it for 3 or 4 years that I've been doing federal workers' comp, but I'm sure it's been on longer than that. So tell me, how did Wednesday Night Chat begin? Who thought about it? How did that thought come into your brain? And tell me how long you've been doing that, because you have thousands of people who tune in every Wednesday.
Yeah. Our Wednesday Night Chats started in February 2016. I used to see people go live and talk about different things about their company or whatever it is that they were doing. I told Chris, maybe we should do Facebook Live. And he said, no one's going to watch it. Who's going to want to listen to workers' comp live? And I said, let's just try it. And our first try was in my rental home I had in Clearwater in my bedroom. We just put the camera and we started. And that very first day that we went live, it was 8 people watching. Just 8. And I was like, okay. And he's like, well, this is not going to go anywhere. I know we got to keep doing it. If we do it consistently every day, we're going to get the followers. As of today, we're over 17,000 followers. We have close to how many millions of people watching in a year or 90 days? We have, it's unreal how many people actually want to watch this, how many people need it. And when we're not on, they're like, are you guys coming on? What's going on? But as for the holidays, we decided to take a little break, think of topics we're going to bring out in 2024, talk to all our franchisees and see what topics. Coming up in 2025, we're going to start interviewing all of our doctors, let them talk about their locations, what makes them special in their location, why should people listen to them, why should people go to their offices. So we're going to start that 2025. But we can't believe where it's gone from there. And because we've done chats, we weren't a franchise yet, it got so big where people are saying, hey, can you guys come here? Can you guys come here? And just one weekend, Chris took about 3 days, wrote up the strategic plan, and formed a franchise from there. So
what started first, franchises or Wednesday night chats?
Wednesday night chats.
So you were only, so where did you start?
We had Our office, one in Alabama and one in the Florida area. Yeah.
So moral to the story, don't listen to Chris.
Right.
And
that's what I say every day.
And it works for you.
Yeah,
That's the
it
secret
works.
of your relationship.
Right.
So you had just one office, one or two offices, then you started Wednesday night chats, and then that just led into having more offices because
Correct.
you were reaching people all over the country,
Yeah.
which couldn't, of course, visit you in that one office.
Right. And it just blew up from there.
And I know listening to and watching Wednesday night chats almost every Wednesday, that there's always, still to this day, years later, there's still people that come on and they say, do you have an office in New York
Correct.
City? Do you have an office in, Utah? Do you have an office in Florida? And you have to continue to say the same thing that you've said a million other times, is you have to tell them to go to the website,
right,
and then you'll find everything. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it for. It's just still the same thing every week of meeting people that they're either just tuning in,
right,
or they've been tuning in and they themselves maybe didn't have an issue.
Correct.
Maybe they just found you interesting and wanted to listen to you. But then when they have an issue, when they have pain or an injury, now they have, again, no one to go to.
Right.
So they even the government website, so they are able to go to your website and find the doctors that they need.
Correct.
And be educated that we know what we're doing, because they see the legitimacy of it, of your Wednesday night chats every Wednesday and all the other things that you do. Because I know when I go onto Facebook, which is 8 million times per day and night, I see you on everything. It's just not only Wednesday night chats. I see Chris's name on stuff. I see your name on stuff, and it's just I see your name all the time.
Consistency. If you do it consistency, you'll get the followers.
And that's what I want to do with this podcast. Is I want people to know me before they even hurt themselves.
Correct.
This way they don't have to depend upon their supervisor to tell them, oh, go see Dr. Dorfman. They already know Dr. Dorfman even before because they watched my podcast or seen me on whatever before they even injure themselves. So when they injure themselves, I just want them to just say to themselves, now I get to call them.
Right.
So
if anybody is looking to come to one of your offices, how can they reach you?
You can always reach me on my cell phone, as I've always given my cell phone out to patients for 25 years. Area code 954-818-3160. Again, 954-818-3160. You can call me or text me, but you can also reach me in the Melbourne office at 321-608-8888.